I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-minute convos where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good night, Dr. Dan Hill. How are you doing on this wonderful, beautiful night?
I'm loving it, but I'm on the other side of the world, so I'm in the morning right now.
Oh, you lucky guy, you. Oh, yeah, well, that's great to hear. What part of the world are you in right now?
I'm in on the Gold Coast in Australia.
All right. And which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this time?
Well, I think it was podcasting, but I'm a passionate educator, so I use podcasting to share my message and spread the knowledge of others to a wider audience. But I started the Business Leadership Podcast in 2015, and now I'm doing the Vocational Education Podcast.
Wow, so podcasting seems to be going great, right?
It's starting again. Yeah, I'm only launching the Vocational Education one again next year, but I've recorded a few episodes already, so I'm back into it.
Oh, wonderful. And how has that impacted your life, the podcast, in application to your business?
It's amazing the referrals you get through just having your name out there, I guess. So being an education aficionado, it's nice to hear when people recognize that you've made contact with other influential people in the sector, and that's how you get your name out. Somewhere between that and LinkedIn, I guess people hear about me.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, do tell us why you will continue to repeat the skill of sharing your messages via the podcast.
Well, I think it's an internal desire to try and be better every time. So every time I record an episode, now unlike yourself who's done so many that you've just perfected the skill, every time I listen to one, I think, oh my gosh, I could have said one time less. I could have I could have done a better introduction, or I could have changed up my audio a little bit there. So I'm always just trying to see that there's a better episode around the corner, and I'm striving for that. So that's why I'm going to continue.
Yeah, it's really an amazing opportunity to correct yourself in the best mirror, if you would, of yourself. Audio wise, right? But I think your thoughts connect to what you say, and in so doing, it eventually helps with your thoughts, which then helps with your actions. Would you agree?
Oh, completely, yes. And I'm glad you said audio, because I do video as well. And when you see a video of yourself, it's just as confronting.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine. Oh my gosh, doing video. Wow. Yeah, video puts on another layer to what you're doing. Well, do tell us one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years.
This is a different one. I walk my dog. It grounds me and gives me a discipline every day.
Yeah, well, you're not the first guy to say that, my friend. There are other people that I've had that said that, yeah, and that went on to an entire conversation in itself. How does it make you feel when you're walking your dog?
Oh, look, I feel so much more connected to the world. It just gives me the time to look around and breathe the air.
Why would you suggest it to someone else who's listening out there that they do that?
Well, look, no matter how busy you are or how driven you are to make a difference in the world, you need a few minutes each day to do something peaceful and contemplative. And for me, that's walking the dog, but it could be anything.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, hey, let's go back a bit. Express to us how you come up with the title Professional Development and Education Expert, and how that journey has been.
Yeah, I started in education after I got out of the corporate world as a rather senior manager for a global organization many years ago. So I had to start out at the bottom, but I'm a passionate learner. So I think over that period of time, as I learnt more about my profession, which is workplace training, consultancy, and that sort of thing, I got to the point where I could actually call myself an expert. I published a book that sold very well in the space. And
what's the name of the book?
The name is Vocational Education and Training. Sold over 30,000 copies here in Australia, and it's a textbook, so it's $100 plus book. So it's been used by over 30,000 people to learn about how to be a better trainer and facilitator.
Wow, how does that make you feel?
Fantastic. It's legacy.
Yeah, it is legacy. Wow. So did you plan for this to be your legacy tool, or was it something that you created and then it fell in place?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I I created and it fell into place.
Yeah, that's amazing. It seems as though you do a lot of table time around with just having conversations with individuals and pulling from them the information that is required for so many others to apply to their lives. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is actually, and it's funny you should say that. So when we get on to talking about my childhood memories, that's gonna
it's where we're going. Oh, so I'm going too fast. Okay.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect.
All right. Well, where's the best place, Dr. Dan, for someone to connect with you?
On LinkedIn, absolutely. So Dr. Dan Hill on LinkedIn. If you're in Australia, that's the first one that comes up. But around the world, there's a lot of Dr. Dan Hills, published authors as well. So I'm not a unique name. I guess with a last name like Jones, you wouldn't be either.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I'm glad they gave me Angel.
Angel, yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and even the way you say it is very, very calming and sweet. I love it. Yeah. But yes, through LinkedIn is definitely the best place. But I do have danhill.com.au as well, and that's another place you can get hold of me.
Wonderful. Well, Dan, let's switch gears for a moment now, and let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Dan, what is your earliest childhood memory?
Believe it or not, sitting at the kitchen table telling stories to my grandmother.
Well, there it is.
There it is.
How old were you?
Do you know, this strange. I think I was only about 4 or 5 years old, but I remember it very clearly.
So why do you think this memory is so clear, and how do you see it connecting to who you are today?
Oh, do you know, I remember how it made me feel. My gran, as I called her, paid me a lot of attention and was kindly interested in what I was trying to tell her. And I think that appreciation has formed in me, and I like to listen to other people tell their stories now.
But can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Please.
I love the legacy elements of it. To see the invisible value that is occurring by your granny, your grandmother, listening to you, reading to her, understanding, of course, in her wisdom, that this will provide the opportunity for so many others to listen to what you have created through your writing, of course, through your podcast, through your consulting. That, my friend, is absolutely amazing to me.
Well, that's a wonderful interpretation. And can I just add, because I was too young to write, I used to scribble on a piece of paper and then I'd read out what I thought it was saying.
Wow.
So I was just basically making the story in my head.
Wow, that's fascinating. Love it. Well, if we fast forwarded to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
Oh, I had to look back, but you know, it was Centerfold by the J. Giles Band. I just loved the keyboard at the beginning of that song, and it just, I loved it. I'm a musician too. I love music, and so that got me fired up.
Yeah. But isn't it amazing, Dr. Dan, how your granny made sure you needed to be centerfold at that particular time?
She probably did. She probably did without knowing it. Very attentive.
That's amazing. Well, Dr. Dan, we have arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there is a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready?
I'm onto it.
Dr. Dan, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
As many people as I can, but if my sons show interest, I'll be next.
Are you married?
No.
All right, so you said you have sons. So
I do.
How many children do you have in all?
I have 3 grown men, 21, 19, and 17 years old.
Are you serious? How old are you? What age did you start having children as?
I'm only 46, but we started at 27, so it's not that young.
Wow, you look great. Well, according to your pictures here, you look great.
Oh yeah, that's me. That's me.
Wow, and it isn't looking photoshopped.
Oh no, it's a photo in my home. That's just me.
Wow, well, that's amazing. All right, my friend. All right, so I lost my trend of thoughts. Let me get back on here. Do you believe in God?
I do not believe in God, no.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Sort of. I have an external circle of friends.
All right. Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
Yes, it's how I unwind, and I have the news on in the morning when I get ready for the day. So yeah, I do.
And what about screen time, the phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Oh, it's definitely less than 8. But when I have a deadline, and it's quite regularly, I tend to provide or divide my day into little 2-hour sprints on the computer, so I don't sit there for too long.
Intriguing. Well, if you had to share with us, Dr. Dan, your own unique real statement, a statement that represents Dr. Dan Hill, what would you say that is?
Actively being a better version of myself each day attracts the right people into my life.
Love it. I am one of them, aren't I?
Oh, you sure are. You are.
Proud to be that person. Well, Dr. Dan Hill, this has been a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Oh, absolutely. The best advice I wish I could always remember to apply is to be content with who you are and where you are. It's an anxiety killer and a happiness generator.
I love that. Dr. Dan, again, great pleasure, my friend. Thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
My pleasure, Angel. Thank you.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.